Welcome back to Manufacturing Matters Jackson, the first and only podcast dedicated to supporting and celebrating the manufacturing industry of Jackson County, Michigan. My name is Keith Gillenwater, and I'm the president and CEO of Accelerate Jackson County.
And I'm Olivia Steele, executive director of JAMA.
Olivia, I am excited for our first Manufacturing Matters Jackson Extra episode as we follow along our new TV show.
Me too. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So we have with us our first guest from our first television show for Manufacturing Matters Jackson, Mr. Brian Cooper, President and CEO of Wire Wizard Welding Products.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's an honor to be first.
Oh, man. When Olivia and I were talking about how do we launch this off, we're like, there's one guy that we got to call. It's the sweeper.
Who do we know that talks too much? Let's get him.
They can compete with Keith.
Who do we know that is the Michigan Manufacturer of the Year semifinalist, right? Runner-up. Yeah. So, thank you for appearing as our first guest on our podcast and on our television show. So just to continue the conversation, we were watching the video during the show and that you were narrating. One of the products that I saw coming off that were little cutouts of, looked like some copper tubing. Mm-hmm. What was that? So
what we were looking at there is a contact tip. So that's at the end of every welding torch, whether it's semi-automatic or robotic. So that's the piece that actually finishes transferring the current to make the arc at the steel or aluminum, right? Gotcha. So that's the piece that goes on the end. That's the piece that typically, in most scenarios, they're going to go through about one a shift or one a day. Okay. So that's actually what we call Powerball. That's the Powerball patent, which is easily one of our probably top 4 patents of all time. That's a product where, so what we do it a little bit different because in our industry, just your standard manufacturing quality checks are not as frequent as probably a lot of people would think. And then on that product, for most of our competitors, it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent, right, that they actually check. And we wanted to be the only company globally that does 100% quality checks. So we produce millions of contact tips per year. But we wanted to be able to do it where it's done at the machine and how it comes off the line. So we actually, I know, shocking, patented a new process where we worked with a local manufacturer here to help put it together for us. We put together a robotic pinning system that you can see in the video where so every single tip as it comes off of the machine goes into our robotic pinning system where a robot picks it up. It puts it in front of a Keon's TMX camera and it's looking at everything from the overall length, the thread minor, thread major, making sure that there's no burrs or anything like that, no bar ends, and then it broaches it to make sure there's no burr inside, and then it actually puts it in front of a camera and it looks through the ID of the contact tip because it's a manual drawn tube. It looks through the ID of that, and then it guarantees so basically our manufacturer of the copper has to guarantee certain tolerances to us so that we can guarantee it to the customer because that's through all of our work over the years. We found that to be the perfect diameter over your wire size. So I know, not shocking that we patented a process, but we came up with the idea and then thought, we want to be able to show this to people, and because it's a great selling feature, but I also don't want to tell our competitors exactly what we're doing, so they start doing the same thing. So we patented it.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome. So, we're learning all the time as we continue to have these conversations with manufacturers about Industry 4.0 and automation, and you're kind of hitting on that. Is there anything else that you're doing in manufacturing today?
Yeah, so we're really more working our way towards robotic when it comes to projects like investigating robotic loading of parts and things like that. We're a higher mix, low volume because we have a lot of SKUs. So us not being a contract manufacturer, we're not just knocking out the same thing to the tune of tens upon tens of thousands. Right. So we have a lot more changeovers. So it has to be a lot more nimble than a lot can allow. We're not the types where we ever have any intention of replacing workers by any means. What I really would like to do is to be able to do more business and have our people do things that actually require skill, talent, and eyeballs, right? Things that are more critical, and where as opposed to my guys can be spending their time doing a setup on another job as opposed to putting things in a mill, right? So really our big push for several years is we have a data acquisition system that we call Weld Central. So it was originally designed to be a product that we use. So we believe so much in what we do that we want to be able to show the customer that what we're telling them is true, because every salesman forever will tell you that they're better than everybody else. Very, very few are willing and actually capable to show it to you. So we put together a system that tracks, that's built into a case, like a Pelican case, with a monitor built in, and we hook up. So basically you can run your exact welding situation. You can run it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever the time of the trial is deemed to be. And then we, with what your existing is, and then we show you how we can make that your best operating robot in the plant. So in most of those cases, we say, give us your worst robot, we'll make it your best. And then we go and we put everything on that we can do to make it better. And then afterwards, we have the ability of showing it. It tracks everything. I mean, all of the characteristics of your arc performance, your wire feed speed, gas consumption, how long it takes your weld to actually stabilize as opposed to having to try to start. And then it all converts automatically over to a return on investment page where we're using the data that the system provides. We don't get to do anything with it. And then we plug in whether it's how much they pay for contact tips, so how many burn backs and downtimes they had and things like that. Because reality is we know that we outperform, but by the time it gets to a purchasing agent, and if they're used to buying offshore product where they're buying a contact tip that cost $1 and now it's $1.20, then it's an automatic no because it costs more, right? But you're using a quarter as many. Mm-hmm. So really the goal is to show that how much better we can improve your performance in the facility. So, and then of course that turned into, because the pursuit of more is it turned into a system that can be daisy chained through a robotic welding facility. So as you can have multiple robots all communicating to one place, where if Keith Gillenwater is the weld engineer in that facility, he can pull up and see what's going on all of his torches throughout an entire facility.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you hit on the intellectual property and how you designed that into something, then it's something that you patent, and so that you can protect that. When we're talking about the tips and that kind of thing, that's always the thing I always go back to. So every time I, over the couple of years I've been here, how many times have I reached out to you to say, hey, can you talk about this? Can you give me a quote for this? Can you come to this dinner where we're going to have some consultants in, those kinds of things?
You're making me good at the pitch.
Yeah, well, there you go.
A lot of practice.
And one of the things I always ask you to talk about is small American Jackson County based manufacturer with intellectual property, because it's not something that you generally think about, is like, we're a small American manufacturer based in Jackson County. And oh, by the way, we have 100+ patents, right? And probably 10 more in the hopper, more. Right? More than that, right? So to me, that's the thing that makes Wire Wizard welding products such a cool story, right? And the fact that your dad's still involved, right? Like, your dad's still involved in the business, and I hear he's a good shooter too, is what I was told at one point.
He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
The Shop Rat Foundation does a sporting clay shoot every year, and we've won it every year except for one. And the only reason we didn't win that is because we weren't there. So believe it or not, we won it so many times that we started feeling bad. So we set up a team with my son, Cash, and then two of his buddies who shoot on the Columbia trap team, and then they won it.
So you tried to throw it, and you still won.
Right? We just wanted the boys to go and have fun, and then they were doing the count, and then they looked over at me and went like this. I was like, oh man, no way.
So what I hear there is we need to get Jackson County to step up its game a little bit. Like, this is where, so maybe this is the next class that you put into the technology center, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So, question I always like to ask on this podcast is, tell me about the coolest project that you've worked on, right? Whether it's something you guys have made or a customer that you've supported. Just tell me about that coolest thing that you can look back at and be like, that was awesome.
Yeah, I always say that the welding industry is not a sexy industry, right? But when people aren't from the industry, the things that we see every single day blows their minds. When you see a single robot pick up an entire F-350 frame and put it in the air and set it down somewhere else, it blows people's minds, right? For me, it's more project oriented. So a lot of really cool stuff. Like, we've been able to go to some of the rocket manufacturers, like Relativity Space and Blue Origin and Tesla, and One of the coolest I've seen was a company called Relativity Space in California. They actually 3D print aluminum rockets for the space industry. And so watching a robot that has, really horrible wire delivery, which is why they called us out there, was, watching it just slowly work its way up, building a rocket from the ground up. And it's just kind of cool to like be able to say, to think about the fact that our product was used on something that's up there. Right. It's really cool. And we see everything from these just massive, Caterpillar dump trucks that you see in mining operations and all that. It's just the magnitude of some of this stuff. Then you think about it, you go all the way down to something really small, like a small weld that's in the seating component of the car in the seat you're driving in your car. It's just such a wide array of things. But I mean, reality is welding is what holds the world together.
That's right.
Doesn't that give you a sense of pride, though? Like when you see something like that and you're a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest point of pride is knowing that knowing that we do it here, and knowing that my father was such a game changer for our industry.
Right.
I mean, he's in so many Hall of Fames and things like that. He was such a game changer for our industry, just coming from small town guy, born and raised in Jackson, and just having an idea and really being able to like turn that into a business, and especially in the 80s, and he was flying by the seat of his pants. I mean, we're in the middle of a major overhaul of our lobby, conference room, and all that. And, through that, we were having conversations about, and he says, your mom and I sealed that tile ourselves on our hands and knees, because we were an extremely small business prior to that. We were coming out of the pole barn at my parents' house, and, to think how much he had to risk and leverage to even put the tile in the entryway, right? And then the furniture in the offices, and his first piece of equipment, which we actually still run today from 1999. First piece of new equipment he ever bought, we still run.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's very cool to be able to tie it all together and go back to it. Like I said, on the show, I have such the utmost respect for not just his ability to build the business, but when it really came time, his willingness to kind of step aside and be more of a coach when needed. And I have a rule with my son. He's not allowed to work for me for at least 2 years after he comes out of college. He's going to go to school for entrepreneurship. He's got to go learn somewhere else, get kicked in the teeth by real bosses and things like that, and then come back and show us what you're worth, right? Just because but I also, because my dad was that way with me, I know that I'll be a lot more forgiving than, when it's his turn, right? To be able to say, if that's what he wants to do. I always tell him there's no expectations to be in family business.
Well, I think what we learned in the television show is at least while he's an undergrad, summer hire or something, you got to throw him in a restaurant.
Yeah. He might. He's probably going to go play football in college. I'm not sure how much time he's going to have, but I mean, he's been working. He's been working for us since he was in 7th grade. He works all summer long. He started off washing windows and pulling weeds and doing all the super glorious jobs that every single kid of an owner does. And now when he's able to be there, he's a pretty valued piece of our torch assembly department. He does a really nice job.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It is awesome. I love that all of our family businesses, they can start and they can get some skill, right? And then I love that you're like, nope, go work for somebody else and then come back. I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
there's so many.
That was such a huge piece for me. Me going and learning the hard way and having bosses that are tough on you. Yeah. I was very, very fortunate in the restaurant business. I mean, probably my greatest mentor of my life, other than my father, and mostly probably because of the age I was in, where I was grinding 85 hours a week, and I was just, I mean, he used to say I was his wild stallion. He's like, I'm not trying to break you. I just need to be able to put my saddle on you. Right. His name was Tom Shuttler from the restaurant business, and taught me so much about people and process and all that. And just, you learn so much more not working for family. But once you learn those things, if it's what you want to do, being able to come back and be able to apply what you learned somewhere else. I mean, it's a true blessing to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's always one of the things I talk about. So from an economic development standpoint, right? Community-wide, we typically hear about communities, particularly Midwest communities, where we're losing our young people. Our young people are going away. They're going away to college, or they're going away to move away. And people talking about, like, we need to get our kids back. We need to bring them home. We need to not lose our kids and not lose those young people. And I say, I agree with you to an extent, right? But much to what you just said of, you got to get out of the family business before you come back to the family business. I am a strong proponent of college, like you need to go away to college, or if you don't go away to college, because we've got great institutions here in Jackson County, right? You need to go, move away, see the world,
Experience.
travel. You need to get that experience and then come back and make our community better.
Absolutely.
Because you don't necessarily learn everything you need to when you're insulated, right? You have to go out and see the world. You have to go out and see how people are doing things and how we can make Jackson County better.
Sure.
Right. And so I'm a strong proponent of that too. And so
I moved away from town and everything. You know, I lived in Canton. I almost moved down south for a while on a job offer that I didn't choose. I was built. I'm built to be where my family is. I'm built to be where, you know, friends and all that. I'm not one that wants to just go be on their own somewhere and start all over. But you know, I went out in the restaurant business, and you know, when I came back, I was living in Canton at the time, and I moved back to Jackson to come back to work for the family. And you know, what I really saw was, especially how great of a community we have, where, you know, Jackson's obviously been on a major come up for the last probably 15 years or so. You know, a town that started to lose a lot of manufacturing is now starting to get a lot of manufacturing back, to the large credit to you two, your predecessor, Bill Rail. I mean, there was a large emphasis was put on manufacturing here. But also when you look at the manufacturing community here, what always blows my mind is how charitable everybody is. This is not, when I say, you know, when I was talking about the Michigan Manufacturers Awards gala, you know, it's a gala, and I don't want to have to put a tie on. Right? I'm capable of it. That's just that's not who we are. Right. And so, you know, when you look around and see how many people here sponsor Little League teams and fields and all these just different things that are going on, and, you know, when Shop Rat's having any kind of event, how many sponsors jump up to, you know, to help out and take care of it, because we know that's our future workforce, but also, I mean, like when you look at our company culture initiative, it's called the Core 4, and it's 4 really simple questions with answers that kind of they act as like the lighthouse to our ship. And the very first thing on there is, why do we do this? And most people will say that they do it for the customer. I don't. I love our customer. I do it for our team. I do it for our team so that we can take care of the community. I take a lot of pride in employing Jackson community talent, and knowing that our whole team, they know the rule. If your kid has a baseball, volleyball, you name it team, I better have our logo on the front of that shirt.
That's awesome,
right? Because the kids take pride in that. We actually have a short story. We had a guy who works for us, who his son, we sponsored his Little League team. We sponsored somebody's Little League team, and then another employee comes up to me about how excited his kid was, and he said, when they got their shirts, he said, "Dad, that's where you work." And he was just so proud of that, which is funny because they actually they gave the sponsorship to the wrong team, but we still ended up sponsoring one of our employees' kids. But yeah, Jackson's just a super, super charitable town, and everybody, it's beautiful to watch everybody try to pick everybody up in our own community.
Awesome.
And that's one of the things that I always say about Jackson, and what makes us different is that we do come together and we do support one another, even if we're competitors. You know, we're still supporting each other in some way.
We buy into the bigger picture, right? I mean, we know the rising tide, right? And to your comment, I mean, the charitable things. I mean, both Olivia and I both run nonprofits, right? And so,
me too.
Yeah. Actually, absolutely, yeah, you do. So, like, we see that charitability, we see that philanthropic spirit in Jackson County, right? Because we have to go out and raise money for our organizations and for the things that we are trying to do. I mean, I'm just on the tail end of my latest capital campaign, and the support we've gotten from the community. I mean, it's humbling. It truly is humbling, and this is a great community.
Like I said, we know that we're a town that makes things. Right. So if we're a town that makes things, we have to support the ability to have the workforce that can continue to make the things.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
People may come to the U.S. or come to Jackson because they're working in healthcare or energy or whatever the thing is. But reality is, our talent, we have to breed it. Right? It's literally the people that are born here or moved here because they're with a spouse or whatever. So we really have to continue to generate the talent from our schools with a declining population in the schools. So what's been really great, I think, especially with having a son who's in high school, he's got this large amount of the kids that are in his school that are, being at Lumen Christi, especially, which is, mostly a college prep school. There's a lot of kids in there that are going into, they want to be an electrician and things like that, because I think the non-college stigma is gone. I think that people got so burned out for so long, of being told what they should do and all that. And I think these kids started to realize that the people telling them that they should go to school are the same people that are trying to loan them the money, right? I think that might have kind of come to the front. But seeing the amount of kids that are really excited about trades because they see you can make a great life, you can have an impact on people, and it's been a really nice turnaround because it was really difficult for hiring there for a while, and honestly, because of our culture, we don't have very much turnover. I mean, we're very blessed to have people that are super dedicated to our organization and things like that. So we don't have much turnover. When we do, the amount of applicants that are there now, it started to go up.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you for joining us on Manufacturing Matters Jackson, our first TV show and our 13th podcast. So we truly appreciate you joining us today.
You're episode 1 of season 2.
Shoo.
That's
There you
awesome.
go. Yeah.
Big shoes. I appreciate you guys having me, and on behalf of us manufacturers out there, we so greatly appreciate what you guys are doing for the community because you guys are going to make our lives a lot easier. So we appreciate all the effort.
Absolutely. This has been Brian Cooper, President and CEO of Wire Wizard Welding Products. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.